Okay, so the last field that I want to talk to you about is adding a button, which is the last kind of basic field that you have for these forms. And I know that we have a lot of forms that have buttons so that you can email this form to somebody or calculate something, etc. So over here in the prepare form, you'll see this OK button. If you don't see this OK button, it's because you created or converted the document and checked that box that says that this form requires signatures. So for some reason, when you do that, this button option isn't there. So just be aware that that's another downfall of whatever that darn checkbox does. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the button to create a button in the bottom right hand corner so that we can email this to somebody. So it looks pretty basic right now, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and escape to get out of that and then go up to button properties to start clicking and changing some of these buttons. So this name again is for you. So this is email button. This tooltip is for all users. It gives them instructions. So click to email the marketing department. I'm going to say click to email the form to the marketing department. Okay, so I do want it to be visible because otherwise, what is the point? But you can also do hidden, visible but doesn't print, etc. So I could even do visible but doesn't print because who needs to print that button on their form? So we're going to go over to appearance. This is where you might want to mess with the borders and colors. So I'm going to come in here and you can choose these default colors, or you can come in and use the color picker. I want to do like a dark blue. It's kind of more gray, so I'm going to move over here. We actually have RGB values in our brand colors. I just don't remember off the top of my head. So you can type in those RGB values if you see those. So I'm actually going to make it kind of dark, but more blue. Okay, so we'll go ahead and click there. Now you think that this word is actually what people see, but if I close this, I'm going to go ahead and get out of prepare form, and it just looks like a blue square. And when I click, nothing happens. So just be aware that that text, that name is for you, but not for other people. So I'll show you how to fix that. So if we go to prepare form, I'm going to double click again to get back into that button. I can add a border. I can change the font size, but I believe that's only going to change the name that you put here, but we'll check that. We don't care about position, but options, this is important because we do need a label for this so that people can see what this button is for. So we're going to go ahead and say the label is email form. Okay, so when I hit tab, you should see that now it has email form. Let's go test out. Let's make this like 14. Yeah, so this is actually affecting the label. So that's good because for contrast, we want to make sure that we have a high contrast color. So white works in that instance. Okay, so options. We might come back here. There's icon only. So if you wanted like a print icon, you had a little icon of a printer, you could do that. And so it's also giving you different position options here. But let's go ahead and go to actions, and I'll just forewarn you that I know like basic actions with these buttons, and I'm going to show you one of them, but you might need to Google, or if you know a form that had more complicated actions, like maybe our P-card submission form or whatever that is, where we ask for permission to buy something, what I would do with those kinds of forms is keep the old one and just open it up in Adobe Acrobat and go to prepare form just as we've been doing, and double click on the property so you can come in here and see how it was built, and you can double click in any of these actions and just recreate it in your own form or learn that way. So for this one, you can choose what the trigger is. So is it when somebody presses the mouse down? That's usually like when you drag stuff on mouse down. We want to drag something from here to there. But for here, we're going to choose mouse up because when we release the mouse, we want it to open up the email that is going to be sent. So we're going to choose mouse up. And then the options for the type of actions, you can execute a menu item like up here. You can have it print. You can do a different page view. So you can have it, zoom in or zoom out, so to speak. You can open up a web link, play a sound. We're just going to submit a form. So not only creating the action, but you actually, like, you select the action, but now you actually have to add like the properties of that action. So this is where I'm going to enter a URL for this link. It's important for email links that you type mail, M-A-I-L, to colon, no spaces, no capitals, and then put the email. Again, no spaces after the colon or even after the email. And then you can choose what type of data is sent to you in that email. It's just easier to say the PDF, the complete document. So when you select that, you don't even get to choose any of these options here, and we'll click OK. So now it's saying on mouse up. So when the mouse is released after being pressed, it's going to submit a form. So we're going to come back over here to label, and I think we should be okay. So I'm going to click close and then go out of here so we can test this out. So I'm going to click email form, and then it's asking me, do I want to open up the default email application, which for us on campus is the Microsoft Outlook program, or use webmail. But most people, if it's use webmail, they just save the form and then attach it to their email. So we're going to go ahead and click continue. Now, the first time I did this to test this out, it actually gave me an error because I didn't have my Microsoft Outlook open. And when it did that, it gave it a weird name here. So I'm not sure if that's why, because it wasn't open, but just be aware you're going to have to tweak some of these settings and test it a couple of times to get it the way you want it. So that's an easy way to create an email form button if you want, and then it's going to attach that form. I did want to add a little note at the end of this video that having an email button on a page where you want a wet signature doesn't make any sense. So I understand that. I was just trying to demonstrate what a button looks like. So really think through those things, because if you want a wet signature, then maybe instead your button is print form. But do you really need all of that to tell them to print the form, or can they just go to file and print the form? So use a button in special circumstances where it aligns with the rest of your form design, and it is something that you really need. Because email button, I don't need this. I can just save the PDF and I know to attach it to an email. So is it really necessary to have this email button? So just think through those kind of things before you put in a bunch of time and effort on these forms.